Welcome back for part 2 of our puppet theatre build. Yesterday we left it having made the structure, the backdrops and the curtains. Let's see how Claire makes all the finishing details.
Next, we're going to add some colour to this area here.
Using the same technique I did with my black tissue paper, I'm going to take my red tissue paper and build up a couple of layers for the arch of my puppet theatre. I'm going to fold over any excess. I'm going to make sure it's nicely stuck down at the back. So all you can see are the neat edges at the front and you can't see the rough edges at the back.
Now my Velcro is here. So I'm just going to cut my red tissue paper to here because I know that the curtains cover up the rest. Next, I want to start adding some detail. Over here we have the wings, but instead of using them to store puppets behind, I want to imagine that I've got an audience watching. So I'm going to create some little Juliet windows to go either side of my theatre. And I'm also going to add some detail. Here's one of our stickers that we've recently had made. It's the comedy and tragedy mask. I think that will look really cool at the top of my theatre. So I'm going to work on that next. I'm going to mount the masks on some more cardboard just to make them really stand out against the top of the arch.
I've drawn around the sticker, but I've left about 1 centimetre more space around each of the edges. This means that I can add some red tissue paper and make my sticker really stand out. Instead of double-sided tape, I decided to use PVA glue and just a really small paintbrush. I didn't use my water for the PVA glue, I just used it neat. And as you can see, I'm really carefully sticking down the edges at the back. It's just too fiddly to use the double-sided tape. Next up, I'm going to make my windows. Waste not, want not. I'm using the card that I took out from the box right at the beginning. I draw the shape and then I very carefully cut it out. And now I'm about to draw around it again so that I get an exact copy for the other window. I'm going to draw around it again so that I can create a border going all the way around my window so that my window looks like it's 3D and appears in relief. Don't forget you've got 2 windows, so repeat the process. More fiddly work, so again I'm using PVA glue to stick my border to the back of the window. Underneath the windows, I'm creating some exits. These exits are going to have curtains running across them. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'll show you how to make the curtains later using tissue paper. My exits are basically just squares. Again, there's two sides, so I repeat the process to make two. And I'm going to need borders for these as well. So I'll make another set. So I'll make two more squares and then cut out the middle to create my borders.
So now I've made my Juliet balcony windows, but at the moment if somebody was to stand in there they'd just fall out, so I'm going to put some railings on just to keep everybody safe. I'm going to cut some of these out so they look like railings. A little tip, the ones that I'm going to cut out, I'm going to put a hashed line through so I know these are the ones that I'm taking away.
I don't want to use PVA glue for this bit because I've got something special lined up later. So I'm using really small pieces of double-sided tape so that I can be really clear about where I'm attaching my railings to my windows.
So now we have our Juliet windows with our balconies so people can't fall out. I need to attach them to my puppet theatre. So I want to line up the window. So I don't want it in the middle, don't want it at the bottom, I want it near the top. So I'm going to pop it, I think about there. Same as before, double-sided sticky tape, stick it on this side and one on the other side.
Remember how I said I had something planned for the exits? Next, I'm going to use some red tissue paper and I'm going to create some curtains. I'd really like to create the pleats that you often get in curtains at the theatre. So I'm going to get my tissue paper, I'm going to fold it over itself. This process is often called a concertina. That just means you fold it one way, you flip it over, you fold it another. It's a little bit fiddly, but if you stick with it, it'll make a nice effect. So here you see, I fold the paper over, and then I flip it and fold it again. Keep repeating this process until you've got enough tissue paper to create your curtains. But as a little tip, fold more paper than you think you'll need. It's easier to cut away than it is to add if you haven't got enough. Because I've used a folded over piece of tissue paper and concertinaed it, I just need to make sure it's secure. So I'm using little pieces of double-sided tape and working my way down to hold everything in place. It's a bit fiddly and mine's not perfect, but just give it a go. To cover your balcony windows, get some leftover tissue paper, cut it to size and slot it in place. I actually made this much more difficult for myself than it needed to be. I should have just covered the windows in tissue paper before I added the borders, but I've not made many of these before, so sometimes you make a few mistakes and you just figure out how to make it work. So here we have my puppet theatre. It's almost complete.
Now you might remember that I was working on my drama masks. Now that this is dried, I'm going to attach the sticker to it. And now that I have my masks mounted, I want to attach them to the top of my theatre. I'm going to use some more Velcro. And now that I've created a bit of a platform, I'm going to stick my Velcro to this.
Now obviously you won't have one of my drama mask stickers, so why don't you draw your own? Or you could draw something else that you'd like to be proudly presented at the top of your theatre. So here we have my puppet theatre. But what good is a theatre without an audience to watch the show? Well, I've even thought of that. Here we have me and my goddaughter. And me and my best mate. Voila! A puppet theatre. And after all those hours of making, it's finally time for me to take to the stage and have a go at performing in my puppet theatre. But what shall I perform? Let me think. I've got one. Nibble, 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 nibble every day of my life. It's a classic. I got to nibble, nibble.